Hello, my name is Stephen NT, and this is Joy News Exclusive. The Doing Business 2014 fact sheet for Sub-Saharan Africa indicates that 31 out of 47 economies in Sub-Saharan Africa implemented at least one regulatory reform, making it easier to do business from June 2nd, 2012 to June 1st, 2013. A total of 66 reforms took place in these countries. Now, the World Bank has supported several reforms under the e-government project here in Ghana with several objectives, including contributing to improved efficiency and transparency of selected government functions through e-government applications. One of these supports is the automation of the registration process at the Registrar General's Department, which aims at speeding things up a bit. But surprisingly, despite the support and several interventions, the Doing Business 2014 fact sheet concluded that Ghana made starting a business more difficult by requiring entrepreneurs to obtain a tax identification number prior to company incorporation. Today, on Joy News Exclusive, we'll find out why it appears these regulatory reforms have not totally eased registration of businesses in Ghana. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Joy News Exclusive. Now, the World Bank and other donor partners supported Ghana in the e-government projects in which several components are expected to wrap by the close of this year. One of them includes the component which will ensure that when you go to the Registrar General's office to register for a new company, the process is fast. Last week, we brought you the insight about what was happening at the Ghana, the Registrar General's Department, I beg your pardon, in which the registration process has aided a lot of small-scale businesses to register. So this week we're looking into the broader area of the GGov application, which is expected to speed up things a little bit. The Ministry of Communication and the National Information Technology Agency have a lot to boast about what the eGov has achieved so far. Let's take a look at this video.
The business climate is changing, going high-tech, and there's the need to bring the processes up to speed. It is in this light that the Ghana e-government project, GGov, has been rolled out to inject some pace into the processes of the Registrar General's Department and the Ghana Revenue Authority.
GGov is part of the eGhana project. Specifically, eGov is a public-private partnership, basically between the government of Ghana and GCNet, to modernize Ghana Revenue Agency and the Registrar General's departments to ensure that the revenue collected by the government is improved over time, and then also to make business registration user-friendly.
One of the major aims of the project is really to simplify cumbersome business processes that have existed up to now and to deliver a high quality service to the citizens of Ghana so that they can do their business with GRA and RGD in an easier way. It will all result in higher returns for the government, both in terms of business competitiveness and also in terms of additional generation of revenue for the government of Ghana.
Modernizing existing systems comes with certain requirements. In the case of GGov, it is incumbent on all businesses to obtain the new 11-digit taxpayer identification number, TIN, to enable them operate efficiently. That means all registered businesses using the old TIN numbers will have to go through a re-registration process.
This re-registration goes beyond the usual one in the sense that even for corporate entities, for instance, the directors who work with them are supposed also to be registered. In the past, it would only cover like the company itself having a TIN, regardless of the fact that the directors are not their details are also not required. Again, the re-registration has a facility that enables people who are even outside to undertake their registration electronically.
Mastering the GGov technology and applying it to facilitate the processes involves developing the manpower. In that respect, the staff of both the Ghana Revenue Authority and the Registrar General's Department are consistently being trained.
We started very basic computer literacy training right from the inception of the project. It was actually one of the first things that we did so that we could actually build up a base layer of skills and even confidence. We've trained almost 500 GRA users in the use of the actual tax system itself. We already have it running in 12 offices. Registration functions have been running for about 12 months now. We're currently bringing up the first office to actually start processing tax returns currently, and the people in the training room currently are the ones who are going to use it for the first time.
Training doesn't end, and we make it a point that every month we take them through continuous training. GGov has been a great benefit to us. It has covered all grey areas, and users have taken the system as their own rather than the government own. Users have to be advised on the usage of the equipment, and again be at their desks and continue to push the task.
One major objective for GGov is to have an effective system that bridges the business processes for its partner agencies to work in harmony and more or less operate a one-stop shop.
In the GRA, we went for this GGov system mainly because we believe it's a system that will improve our performance, make us more efficient and effective in revenue collection. And therefore all the benefits that have come with it, including the fact that we have had to, as it were, establish one-stop shop offices, that is integrating the offices such that whereas previously we had separate IRS offices, VAT offices, now we have one domestic tax office that administers these separate tax handles under one roof.
Although the system is now centralized, such that all connections are to a central location, we also have a disaster recovery site that has the same information. So if you're talking about the fact that maybe the system will go down, well, there's a backup that is also there, so that if one goes down, there's something else that can also come up to meet our operations.
The way of doing business changed when GGov came on board, because initially clients didn't have to have a tax identification number before they could register their businesses. But with GGov, there was the necessity for you to get a tax number for all the officers of the company. And therefore the process became a two-way process. Then you get the TIN number before we can complete our documents. With the GGov system, we scan the documents into the system. And once it's scanned and through the electronic workflow, we are able to quickly process the documents for you within a day if it's for a business name, and 2 to 3 working days is for a limited liability company. So with this new system, it will be one time you get into the system, will be prompted to file your returns on time, you'll be prompted to renew your businesses, and the advantage is you are linked to the Revenue Authority, so any information that you file with us, instantaneously they also receive that kind of information.
Welcome back to Joy News Exclusive. My name is Stephen Enti, and I have with me in the studio Clara Pinkrah-Sam. Clara is the Investment Promotions Director at the ITES, Information Technology Enabled Services. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
I mean, we watched that documentary, and what that portrayed was that everything is fine. I mean, in terms of improving from the old method, the old slow method that people registered their businesses. So now it's at least getting faster. But that contrasts with World Bank's 2014 fact sheet on doing business, which says that it has actually become difficult to register new companies. I mean, is there anything you can say about that contrast?
Absolutely. You just said everything is fine. Everything is not completely fine. Everything is much better, and it's a process. It's not an event. Trying to improve systems, how procedures are done from the manual and old way into an electronic and more efficient and faster way. So things are much better. And if you ask anybody who's been dealing with the Register General Department over the few months or, let's say within a year now, they can testify to that. The reason why this didn't reflect in the ease of doing business is that's only one part of, what they assess in terms of the technicalities or the tactics and what they look at in terms of 11 elements that they look at in, assessing the ease of doing business in the country. However, even though the report was very specific that the speed with which entrepreneurs obtain TIN, that's the tax identification number at the RGD, that's the Registered General Department, is what contributed to this. We can testify to this that, as we talk now, it is much faster, than it used to be. To be honest with you, what the whole process is initially you could register a company and only the company was given a TIN. Now, as part of eGov and to improve efficiency and to enhance revenue collection, this whole GGov is an automation of processes between RGD, which is Registered General Department, and then the Ghana Revenue Authority. So all directors of companies being registered are also given tax identification so that it's easy to trace when you're making payments. So right from the day an organization is registered, there's a link between the organization and the tax revenue agency, which makes it easier, for entrepreneurs to do all of that. So it's a process of giving the individual directors these specific TIN, which causes the little delay in the initial stage. And the reason being that TINs are very specific. They must be tied to your name, because that is the number you're going to use all your life in Ghana here if you're doing revenue. And so we needed to make sure that it synchronizes with your personality. I mean, in terms of the fact that you use, for instance, your DVLA, your passport, or your national identification card to be able to generate that. And that means there is a link between this old GGov application platform and these other organizations, institutions, to be able to identify that, yes, what you are presenting to us, that it is you, Stephen Anti, is actually true. So those were the processes, if they were downtown somewhere.
And
those were causing the delays.
Before then, what was the practice? Because I went around town today to sample views from people who have registered companies some years back before 2012, and they went through a lot of hassle. So what exactly have you come to replace? What existed before the GGov started?
Okay, before GGov, if you go to the Register General and you pick up a form, all the entries were done manually. So it was a very long process. Errors were really incorporated. It was very difficult to even, if you needed to register a company, for instance, today, you submit a name and go and they do a search, and then you come back and then they'll have to tell you that that name already exists, before you even start the processes. And also if there is any issue and they have to retrieve your documents, they go into their archives. I don't know whether you've been to any of hospitals or the old RGD. You see a whole pack, of papers, and an individual needs to go in there and trace your document. I mean, they were subjected to rodents and, possibility of fire, outbreak and all of that, because when these papers are dry, they easily spark, So those were the processes. And also, only the registered businesses were given the tax identification numbers. So, the individual, the directors and all of that were not traceable, allow me to use the word, in terms of tax payment. It wasn't linked to anything. And then again, you had to do VAT payments separately for IRS. They didn't come under one roof, and it was very tedious to even go and pay tax and that wasn't encouraging tax payment.
And people weren't paying as a result of that.
It reduced, and also it was difficult to trace even when payment had been made. So GGov,
yeah,
actually is it's a PPP, is automation arrangement between Register General Department and the Ghana Revenue Authority. So there's that linkage between registration of businesses, the owners of businesses, their tax payment, and all of that.
I mean, I've spoken to you a couple of times since we started investigating this whole e-government project, but you mentioned just a while ago that the GGov is just one element of about 11, right?
No, I mean, the ease of doing business.
Okay.
The how it is assessed.
It is assessed. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Business registration is only one, of the items that 11 of them that is used to assess a country.
To assess a country. So let's now look at exactly what you have achieved. You've spoken about what is good about this and how that can improve businesses. But since you have up to the end of this month for the funding project to conclude.
No, next year, June.
Next year, June, rather. Okay.
Right.
So what have you done so far?
Well, under GGov, GGov is actually a private-public partnership between GCNet and the government of Ghana, here being represented by the Ministry of Communications. And so the whole project is close to a $60 million, US dollars project, of which the government of Ghana brought on board close to $20 million US dollars. Okay. So because it's a PPP, you know how PPPs work? It's an agreement between the government and GCNet. So they have to do what we call they get to what we call operational acceptance stage, where they will hand over to the government, and this should be done pretty soon, and then the government automatically owns it. So it really has nothing to do with the end of the project. But fortunately, it's actually, we've gotten to the end of it before the project itself, which is eGhana, ends.
Okay, right. This is Joy News Exclusive, and we're talking about e-government, the e-government project, GGov, and this is expected to enhance the business registration processes before incorporation, we're told. And I've got some of your messages that have come in, and we'll take a little break away from the discussion with Clara and then read some of your messages. Demi De Seaman, you say, good news, and Austin Ammonia says, Ghana will be better small time, and that's very optimistic, Austin. And so Timothy Ajiti says, amen, if it was it, if it is what it is. Okay, so you are expressing doubts, but Clara is here who will clarify some of your doubting areas, and everybody will be happy. And Christian Salvo also says, that's good news to hear. Osikeni Osef also says, if it is what they're saying, dear, thanks. I guess you're saying this is a Ghanaian slang. For those of you who do not understand, he's just emphasizing what he's saying by introducing the word dear in there. And Senaju Akimidis, you say that that's great and good news as well. And Ronald Yaboa Fine Boy says, it's as a result of the difference in the workloads being impounded in Ghana. I think that is the problem here. I don't exactly get what you are talking about, Ronald Yaboa Fine Boy. I'll read again. Is as a result of the difference in the workloads being impounded in Ghana. I think that is the problem here. Well, if you can clarify your comments again, we'll read. Osewia says, talkatives, please walk your talk. JDM, our president, is communication expert, so knows how to talk. Walk your talk. Dalton Thomas. Unfortunately, the president is not here to respond to what you are saying, but I do hope that Clara will provide throw some more light on this project and the overall benefits, so that you would understand exactly what it does. And Ronald Fineboy again says, the main question is also about those using the system and their level of knowledge of this system, administrators. And it goes to start with how skilled these people are. Well, if you watched the earlier documentary we put together, you notice that they offer training. Training is ongoing, and many staff of the Ghana Registrar General's Department have been offered training. Ghana Revenue Authority have been offered training as well. So training is ongoing, and there is a lot of commitment in that area, we're told. And Ronald Fineboy again says that, but I think so far, so good. It's easier to register your business now. And that's the first positive that we've heard, Clara, that Ronald is saying that it's good so far. It's easier to register your business now that there is a system in place than when they were using the manual way of those days. All right, so you can send us more of your messages and we'll read for the whole world to hear. This is Joy News Exclusive and my name is Stephen Enti. So let's now take a watch at the second part of the documentary on GGov. This is Joy News Exclusive.
Being directly in charge of using the new system in their day-to-day operations, the staff should be in a better position to tell us more about GGov.
We are now trying to employ the trips into our system. This is a way of going from manual to technical applications to simplify the processes and improve upon the system.
It will help removing the human factor a little further because most of the things will be computerized. This is by far one of the things I think would help GRA in terms of speed, in terms of quantum, in terms of revenue collection.
The private sector has often been touted as the engine of growth of the economy. It is, however, largely dominated by the informal sector, which is not quite used to bureaucratic procedures. The GGov platform might just provide the right link to attract more of these businesses to register and formalize their operations.
You see everything clearly, and efficiency, I think the time also is faster than before.
It's not so cumbersome. If you know the various desks that you have to visit, and then you ask the information that you need, then you just sail through it. So I don't think it's too bad.
The concept of governments collaborating with the private sector to establish important projects plays up significantly in GGov. The government of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Communications and the National Information Technology Agency, NITA, continue to play their respective roles.
Main purpose for the creation of the Ministry of Communication by government is to ensure that the ministry will concentrate on facilitating the development of the enabling ICT infrastructure and the legislations and laws to enable all the sectors of the economy, including government, the private sector, the civil society, apply the use of ICT in their business ventures. The essence is that once connectivity is given, then government agencies can start doing the applications online.
NITA has been the agency that actually conceptualized the GGov project through the Ministry of Communications. The network that we have built for the e-government project means that GCnet can ride on the network to actually help with the GRA implementation. Basically, all the various GCnet or GRA offices are connected through this network to make it possible for them to send electronic communications amongst themselves.
NITA is responsible to ensure that the delivery of the solution is technically sound and the solution as would be used by citizens and by the agencies, that's the GRA and the RGD, and then also to make available the government network.
Indeed, when one considers the resources, both human and material, deployed by the stakeholders, one would also wonder how the project is being funded.
The initial funding comes from the World Bank. The total cost is in the region of $60 million US dollars, and the World Bank, through the eGhana system, puts in approximately 20 million US dollars, and then a significant proportion of the balance comes from GCnet. And indeed, the risk factor, as a design finance operate system, is taken by GCNet. And then ultimately, once the program goes into operation, the government of Ghana will reimburse the balance.
With all these efforts being invested, GGov must surely be the change that makes the difference.
This system is so significant for revenue mobilization and is really so central to the government's plans in that area that there is no option, and I'm quite certain that everything will be done to ensure that it remains sustainable into the future.
With all said and being done, it is hoped that the processes at the Registrar General's Department and the Ghana Revenue Authority will improve substantially with GGov so as to satisfy all stakeholders, especially the business community. GGov, Partnership for Business Development, powered by GCNet, the World Bank, and the Government of Ghana.
Welcome back to Joe News Exclusive. My name is Stephen Enti, and I'm still here with Clara Pinkra Sam, who is the Investment Promotions Director of ITEC. So, Clara, we've gone through the motions. You've told us and then the fact that it will improve businesses, etc. But overall, I mean, we know the economy is a very important issue for everybody now. How does this affect the economy positively?
Thank you. See, the private sector is the engine of growth of every economy. And any process that sort of hinders their growth eventually means that any economy is going to be degraded. It's very hard for that economy to grow. eGhana supports, innovation, entrepreneurship, business growth, job and wealth creation. And so it's practically important that the element, the instrument, the systems that help in supporting proper, business processes, such as registering business, easily, supporting revenue generation, correctly, and all of that. These are the things that, eventually go into a system to build a nation. For instance, under the GGov, you see the correlation between Registrar General Department and then the Ghana Revenue Authority. Right there, it means if we encourage people to register their businesses, government is able to easily trace and also collect taxes to build our roads and schools and all of that. Beside that, it means that the private sector is on board. They know that they're paying taxes, though they have to work hard, to be able to get value for money, put it that way. They're encouraged to go over there and register because it's not cumbersome. Any second in the life of a growing business, counted in cash, is millions of cedis or thousands of US dollars. So it's very important that we encourage that these processes are smarter, faster, easier, transparent, and that is where it eventually, transfers into economic growth for every country.
But is it also not possible that of course, there is a good intention of encouraging more people to register their businesses and improve government's revenue collection, it will also be pinching people more, that you could be taxed left and right till you are dead, really, because your identity is tied to a tax identification number. Many people, too, might be put off by that. You don't think so?
Yeah, what you're saying is very true. I mean, to be honest with you, if anybody pays tax and doesn't see the value of the tax paid, it's a put off to start with. But that's not the intent of this project. That is another management structure, with government and all of that. Government go, government come, but the system must be set right. If people invade tax and they can easily be traced, taxes are mandatory. And it's up to government to put it to good use to encourage people to pay. I mean, when we all travel and we see all these developed infrastructures and all of that, government don't manufacture money to be able to do that. It's through people being responsible enough to pay tax. And the people paying the tax, they see the evidence of the tax they are paying. Under GGov, the process is to set the system straight, to encourage business registration and enhance tax collection, for infrastructure development. and of course, economic growth of Ghana.
Some of our comments, I was trying to go back to some of our earlier comments that were received where some of our viewers were expressing skepticism or doubt about the system generally. Are there guarantees in the system to ensure that perhaps the wrong people are not recruited to manage it? Reliability is assured. Are there any things like that?
So which of the systems? Is it the processes at the Register General Department or the collection of revenues? Which of the systems?
Let's just discuss both. The registration process, the collection of revenue, because we've seen a lot of our taxes go to corrupt use, really. So these make people wonder whether we've got the right systems and the right guarantees and assurances.
Right. I would answer this to the very best of my knowledge. Ghana tax aspect here, and I don't work for Ghana Revenue Authority.
I understand.
But I know we'll be doing extensively on doing business
next
report.
Friday.
Next Friday, which we discussed this extensively. But again, don't let's lose focus on GGov. And the importance of GGov is to convert the manual way of processes to make it electronic, to enhance the processes, make it more transparent and easy. As we watch in the documentary, and if you go to RGD right now, you see that all the staff there are trained. There is no magic. You don't require 2 degrees and a master's and a doctorate degree to be able to do this input, move it from the manual way to the electronic way. So they were taught and trained from basic computer skills up till now. Now you go and you see the data entry bit of it is so fast. You understand? So apart from RGD, Register General employees being trained, Ghana Revenue Authority also makes sure that training is given to their staff. So these are electronic inputs. Of course, if you talk about people being able to fidget with systems and top security at the ends, things like that can happen. But that is why people sign contract, agreement contract and, compliance agreement with their staff when they get them on board. But generally in all, government is more, it's very transparent to trace. For instance, if somebody makes payment at Register General, and goes and files a tax and you monitor the system, you see how often it's paid and all that. It's very difficult to eliminate the person, and when deletions or anything like that happens, it's very easy to trace, and all of that. And it can be investigated. We have what we call IT security, big time, or higher level education, which goes into this to investigate it. But in all, developed countries have moved from the traditional way of doing processes, registering businesses, and are doing this. And that is why it is very necessary, to be able to implement this in Ghana here, which we are doing. Because
so let me ask you, has the implementation been complete for the GGov, especially the registration processes at the Registrar General?
I'll say the entire GGov is about 96% completed.
Okay.
We have to...
Okay.
Like I said, it's a PPP agreement between the Ministry of Communications under the eGhana project, specifically with NITA, which is NITA, and GCNet. And we have what we call operational acceptance stage, where a project is matured and you hand it over to the public sector. And that will be done pretty soon.
Right. One of our comments from Ronald Fineboy Eboa says, the main question is also about using the system and their level of knowledge of the system administrators. Walk us through, did your establishment also fund or support training for those who use the GGov applications?
The entire project, like I said, is over close to $60 million, of which the World Bank under the eGhana provided 20, and the rest is from GCNet as partnership. This is, a private-public partnership. So there's nothing like money from our outfit being used to train. It's the money from the partnership, the pool, being used to train individuals from scratch. To be honest with you, not specifically to these 2 institutions, but we've done training in public, institutions where people are afraid to even touch the mouse. So it's not to any staff in RGD or GRA, but we're confident that Ghanaians are very smart, and it is no magic to use a computer, so it doesn't call for laying people off. It's just people embracing the system. And if you watch the documentary, we have the IT head at the Register General Department saying that people now feel that the system is theirs instead of the system even belonging to the government. They feel very comfortable to work with it. They've seen that it's practical, it's doable, it's enhanced processes, and people are happy.
Right. Let me take a couple of the comments that came, and then just about 2 or 3, and then we'll go and continue with the rest of the package we have. Ronald Fineboy, you said that the issue I may have with the system is how reliable it is. It will be, meaning, are there any backups for this software? And Ozikeni Osei Ofosu says that how would it help the youth? And Osikeni again says, if it helps, what should we do? And Adumako Job says that the NDC and President Mahama government talk a lot, but little action. This time they should do more action than talking. Well, I'm afraid that the parts of your comments which are related to the NDC and President Mahama and all of that, we are not able to discuss that since we don't have guests who will discuss that. So, well, there are other components or other elements of the doing business. And earlier last week, we spoke to the president of the Ghana Employers Association, Terence Darko, and we asked him, what are the difficulties that some of his members face in registration of businesses? And his answer was interesting. Take a watch.
The most important aspect of anybody's business is the cost of capital. That's the most important aspect of it in any economy. So I'm not going to delve into how long it takes you to register a business or the bureaucracy that you have to go through in order to get a permit or a license or anything. But taking all that aside, what really is the bottom line is what is the cost of capital? Can you obtain long-term funds? And in this country, you cannot get long-term funds from the bank. The most you'll get is maybe 5-year funds. And so there is a tremendous mismatch between the need for long-term funds and what is made available to us. Now, if I want to build a factory or I want to expand my business, I will need to build facilities. I will need infrastructure development. There is no infrastructure that should have a payback period of less than 20-25 years. And yet, in this country, we are asked by the banks to pay back in 5 years. And in this country, we're paying 25% interest. So basically, we're being told, do buying and selling. Bring in goods, price it today, sell it immediately within 1 month, pay back the bank, it's 2% for that 1 month, and then you take your margin. There can be no expansion based on short-term funds. Maybe what the government should do is to make it more and more competitive in the financial sector, such that then they have to lend money, they have to reduce their interest rates. Also, the bank should be forced to become more efficient. If they become more efficient, then their costs go down, and therefore the spread between their cost of funds and their lending rates will also go down.
Government has already initiated moves. For example, collaboration between the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Trade and Industry has led to a committee being set up to take a look at the processes we go through in clearing goods and services, for example, from our ports. And government is determined to make it as short as possible. Government determination is that when your goods land at the port and you've done all the documentation, within 5 hours, you should be able to clear your goods from the port. This is a vision we set for ourselves. This is a target we set for ourselves. And between the Ministry of Transport and Ministry of Trade and Industry, I'm very optimistic that we'll be able to restructure activities, the processes people go through in clearing their goods from the port, to make it